You are listening to He Said, She Said with L.A. Rob, and D the VIP. Oh yeah.
So here's my take on it. It seems, so they said skip all these other films that had started to be campy and all of that, and let's get back to the grittiness of the original Halloween film. So to me, Halloween was an excellent example of how marketing, if done well, can sell a film that's really not that good. I mean, they had, when you looked at the trailer was excellent. They had like the signs here, the visual posters and things like that look really great, and they got you excited, and you would see, like, you know, the trailers and the signs, everything was everywhere. And just the fans, as a horror film fan, we wanted this. We're like, okay, we're finally gonna get something. This was like Star Wars coming back and you getting the J.J. Abrams film, you know, and saying, okay, this is putting it back on the right track. So we get to the theater, and the theater has a nice crowd. It's not sold out.
Yeah.
It's not full, but it's a nice crowd. And then the film begins.
Yeah. So it's interesting that it starts off from the perspective of, you know, it kind of strikes me as sort of the making of a murderer type thing, where it was like, okay, starts off with these they're podcasters.
Well, we better tell them a spoiler alert, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, yeah, we're gonna spoil the movie. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, come back. But this is a spoiler podcast.
Yeah.
So it starts off with these journalists, and I guess they are interviewing. Well, you know, the guy is straight up trying to interview Michael Myers, and he's been institutionalized since for the last 40 years. And then he also, you know, goes to Laurie Strode's house and bribes her, and, you know, tries to get her side of things. You know, so I mean, I like the setup. Like, the setup is definitely what it should be. I just think that the thing that intrigued me was, from the trailers, I thought that I was going to get a movie that was more like more of a psychological terror, like, you know, like
For the viewer, for
you know,
or the film.
Yeah, for the, you know, I was more of a I was looking for, like,
For the characters.
Yeah, I thought it was I was thinking, because I just recently seen Psycho. I rewatched Psycho, and
The original.
Yeah. For my class, and I just was like, you know what, Psycho was such a great movie, and you know, and I think that it wouldn't be this Michael Myers movie if there wasn't a Psycho. Mm-hmm. And, you know, even in the thing that I noticed that tends to happen is, the closer the movie gets released, they start releasing TV spots, and they start giving away certain scenes, and they even start showing stuff that I guess was cut out of the movie. You know, so, you know, so there's that. But I do like, I like how they try not to show Michael Myers' face, I guess, mm-hmm. but they don't really answer. My problem is that they didn't answer the really practical questions that I had. Like, you know, this is a person who's been in prison for 40 years. How does that person, you know, I mean, he's been in captivity for such a long time. And I just had a problem with the setup and payoff of, they were wondering, like, you know, Michael Myers never said anything. I would think it would have been interesting if at some point in the movie where he actually did say something. And that would have been, you know, a nice moment. But for the longest, you know, I mean, as a slasher film, you know, he never really. I'm gonna speak some blasphemy, but Michael Myers has never really, you know, struck me as a really as a killer that's really interesting. I mean, he has no personality outside of the mask. He, you know, he has a butcher. His weapons is a butcher knife. He's stupid strong. You know, he never works. He doesn't work out or anything, but he's like incredibly powerful.
Because he's crazy. Crazy people are strong.
Okay, but when I look at, you know, for my money, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my go-to to get it done. Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, you know, those are killers. I just don't see Michael Myers. I would be scared, like, to see him in the dark, and I think that if the movie played more on the tension, that would have been more interesting. But there's a turn in the movie where Michael Myers, he kills a kid, and then there's another scene where he's walking around and he kills a woman, and there's a crying baby. So you think that this movie's been setting you up, and then it doesn't go there. He doesn't kill the baby, and I think I know why. I think from an audience testing point,
that would have been sacrilege.
That's where a major company like Universal, I think that was a studio mandate that not happen.
Well, here's the thing, okay,
which I understand, but they knew that was going to be a problem, so they didn't go there. But it's just that they set it up like this is the new hotness. This is the new thing that we're doing, and it's not like anything you've ever seen before. So you get me in the theater and with that promise, but then I see the movie and I'm like, I'm getting anything but what you initially showed me, which is pretty much advertising.
Well, here's my thing. They show all of the good scenes are basically shown during the trailers. That's problem number one. Problem number two, it did it in terms of killing a child, and that was an integral part of that particular film. I didn't necessarily like that, because I think that when we start making it okay in film to kill children, that we desensitize people and audience over time. So for this movie, but again, with that was a part of the storyline. In this particular movie, there was really no reason why he had to kill this kid, this 12-year-old. Looks like he's about 12 years old. But there was really no reason. There was every opportunity to have a scare for the audience, using the characters, and they didn't really utilize that fully of using the kid. And then there was every opportunity for the kid to get away, you still to get the scare that you wanted, and for Michael Myers to go off and kill some other people. So I didn't really like the kid being killed, because I just thought it wasn't a point and a reason why that had to happen. The other thing that I thought that they didn't do very well was it's like when you don't have a large budget for a film, you tend to stretch out everything, and you tend to play the psychological, like you were talking about, the psychological game of, is he behind her, is he not? Because you don't have money to just have things pop out of the air and fly across the room and stuff like that. So I was looking for more like tension and things that where your stomach is hurting and cramping because you don't know where he is, and you're into it and you're feeling like you want to scream at the theater and say run and all the other stuff. And I didn't get that feeling. I wasn't drawn into it to that degree. There was not a jump scare. I didn't jump at all, and I don't think anybody in the theater jumped at all during the entire film. And that's what you go to a scary film for, I think. So I definitely was disappointed.
Yeah, I kind of was disappointed in the fact that, modern technology didn't play a factor into this. Like, there's a guy going around killing people, and he's killing people on kind of like the same block, and he's the everyone kind of knows of the serial killer Michael Myers. And that didn't play social media didn't play a factor in it. And then, I just thought it would have been interesting seeing where, if they had it where maybe there was people dressed as Michael Myers for Halloween. And,
that would have been great.
And you don't know
which one is the real Michael Myers. Yeah, because they play up the whole history, like the streets and the town still like remembers this story. But like you said, nobody's dressing like him for Halloween. I would think that would be a good one.
Yeah, because he's like, you're dressing as Michael Myers for Halloween, and and I just think that that was an easy. Yeah, that was an easy. That was a gimme. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of just dropped the ball on that. And then like the people who do get killed, you don't really care about the people who die. Yeah,
because they don't cultivate the characters.
They don't cultivate the characters, and I think there's a such thing as having. I think why movies like Alien and The Shining work so well is because there's a sense of isolation. Mm-hmm. And because it takes nothing for, I think, in this world, in this modern age, if the police, see that there's a guy who's going around killing people, they're going to send every cop, every SWAT officer to take out that person. So it doesn't make Michael Myers less of a threat. He's just the man and the knife who can be killed by bullets.
Right.
So, I just think that.
But then, and also, I think you said it best, and you're the one to recognize it before I did, that social media didn't play. Like, if you're going to create this horror film in modern times, then where does social media fit into the story? Because now everybody's got a camera. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody, is filming and taking selfies and all that other stuff. That was a get me. Like so there's a storyline about Laurie Strode's granddaughter, who is a teenager, a high school senior, who is going to a dance. And but nobody's taking selfies. Like, it would have been a great setup to have one of the kids get killed who's taking a selfie, and he happens to pop up behind them. That was an opportunity to have a jump scare. But nobody was really thinking outside of the box.
Right. Or there's this thing called Periscope. It'll be interesting to maybe utilize some found footage type thing, like a Periscope or something like that.
Or Facebook Live.
Or Facebook Live.
Thing, yeah.
People getting killed on Facebook Live and stuff like that. It would have been nice to kind of incorporate social media into that. And it just would have been interesting. But the overall story itself is just like, okay, well, when we, and for the record, Jamie Lee Curtis, she looked good. I don't know how old she is, but she looked good.
She's in her 70s, I believe.
Yeah, well, she looked good. She keeping it right, keeping it tight.
Yeah.
And she was, honestly, I'll say she was the best thing about the whole movie.
Well, she's a real actress. Like, you could definitely tell that she was good. She's not like the normal horror screen actress who, is like somebody you really don't recognize. Like, this is a person who really has chops.
Yeah.
So.
And I think they gave her a really good arc. And I like, there's a little bit of like role switching. Like, she's the person who's preparing to take on Michael Myers. But I think there are certain things that happen that create a false sense of tension. Like, there's that thing where, okay, she's so prepared that, when Michael Myers walks into her house, she has these special gates that roll down to capture him. Mm-hmm. Like, it would have been better just to start with that off the bat, as opposed to like going to one room, checking the room, pulling the gate down. and it
Well,
just
she was like blocking off the room, so I like that. Like that worked for me, but I wanted like they had the scene where when she gets to the final room, they have like it's blood on the closet door, and it's clearly I want you to look over here, and so and these mannequins are behind her, and you're waiting. It was just like, it was textbook, he's going to be behind you. And so when he is, you don't jump because you're expecting him to be there. I mean, it was so obvious. So it was going back to her character. So they have her, she's now preparing to, she was the hunted, now she's preparing to be the hunter. And so for 40 years, she's been, doing all of these tactical, training, learning how to shoot. She's been prepping a daughter that she had to shoot, and they're going to kill Michael Myers if he ever gets out. So everything about her life has been preparing for this. But what I found interesting is that she has this long hair, and generally when you have, like, even if you're a female in the military, they tell you to wear your hair up in a ball, or you need to have it short, because that becomes
well, you know what this movie is?
That becomes something that can work against you.
Dude, this movie is a shameless ripoff of Terminator.
Yeah.
It's like right down to like you have a Terminator 2, you have the Sarah Connor character, and she's better, she's badass,
yeah, she buffs up and stuff.
Yeah, she's not weak anymore, and she's ready to she's ready for she's expecting it. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like if you're gonna copy a better movie, like at least make it interesting, and I just think that this movie is a missed opportunity, but and I think that in the development process, I mean, Michael Myers Halloween is such a huge property that they didn't want to screw it up. But I think there's so much fan service and just too much playing it safe that it just I just felt like it's kind of a missed opportunity, for what we could have gotten.
And I think it really showed. Like, I'm not a huge fan of having several different writers on one script. And in this case, you had 3 different writers writing this one script. And you really did have about 3 different stories, because you had people who were there who just had no really reason to be there. You had it kind of where one, she's preparing for I was about to call him Jason, but for Michael Myers, and she's ready to fight him. But then she's an alcoholic and kind of the absentee grandmother / mother, and I mean, it was just. But then you have the story of the teenage granddaughter, and she's dating this guy, and that whole teenage angst kind of stuff. So you have all these different stories that are going on, and it was like, could you kind of make one concise story, because sometimes it just, I mean, you had this whole side thing where he kills this lady in her house talking on the phone for no reason. He just kills her because he doesn't get anything from her, like his mask or a knife or anything like that. Up until that point, he was killing people to get things that he needed. Like, he killed people to get his mask back. He killed people to get get out of custody. He killed people to get his knife. And so then this lady's talking on the phone, he kills her. But prior to her being killed, she gets this phone call saying Michael Myers is out. But you never find out, why is she being called, who is she, and why are they telling her that he's out versus anybody else. So what is her connection? So you didn't get that. Then you had this black couple And I was glad to see that there were some people of color who finally moved to the neighborhood.
Yeah, Haddonfield's getting gentrified.
Haddonfield got some
diversity now.
Some diversity going on. But you have this black couple, and they come out their house, and he's standing there, and I guess they're kind of saying he's deciding on whether he's going to kill the girl or not, and then they leave their home. And then fast forward, and so, and everything goes off without a hitch. So he doesn't scare her, nothing happens. But then fast forward, you have this girl who's babysitting this little boy who happens to be African American too. Now, they don't say whether that was his parents leaving and that's why she's babysitting. I guess one might assume that just because it's this couple who happen to be black and this child who happens to be black. So some people might make that assumption, but as a black person, I'm not making that assumption because I know that there's more than one, family of color, hopefully, that lives in Haddonfield, so it may not be a connection. So that was a little strange, but I will say that one of my enjoyments in watching the film was the little boy who brought some fun to it.
Yeah, right. He was comic relief. He was basically saying what everyone was saying in the audience. Or
at least we were thinking, because really nobody was talking.
That was cool. That was funny. That was some much needed levity in this whole movie. That's probably the best actor in the whole movie.
Well, no, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, but
actor. But he was very good.
He was definitely necessary.
And you want to see more of him because he was really funny. And then there were scenes where there were times when he killed, in terms of Michael Myers, killed some people, and you didn't get the satisfaction of seeing them being killed. You just saw the after effect. Like, it was this guy hanging on the wall in the living room that he had killed, but you didn't see him kill him, or you didn't see him surprise him by killing him. None of that. So it's just like, it was wasted moments like that. That just, it's like wasted opportunities that they had to really flesh out the film fully and do a good film.
Yeah, Michael Myers is a very difficult. I think for anybody, it's a difficult character to write for because there's nothing. I mean, it's subtle. It's minimal. There's not a whole lot there, but right now we're conditioned to where that was great back then, but we're not that audience right now. We want to see something different, and we don't have a lot. I just don't think we have a lot of patience, today.
But that's true. But you have to give it to us quickly, or you have to deliver something that's smart and well put together. This wasn't.
Yeah, or just show us what we're getting into so that we can be invested. But I think that every story, it's about the characters, and Laurie Strode, they did a good job with her character, but I just didn't get a sense of her daughter or the granddaughter or. I just think it seems like everyone was kind of just wall covering, you know what I'm saying? They were just background, and that's fine, but it just felt like...
when they got killed, you didn't care.
Yeah, like I look at a movie like The Shining, which is a superb, great movie.
That's a masterpiece. So.
Yeah, it's a masterpiece. And then, you look at this, and, obviously... I would say as a studio film, from a technical standpoint, as really the DP was very good, the editing was really good, the sound mix was very good, but it just I just didn't see the emotion. I wasn't connecting emotionally, with the characters. And Michael Myers, I just think what's disappointing is that I think everybody kind of went to learn more about Michael Myers and just what motivates him.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I didn't go to learn anything more about him. I really just wanted to see him, do what he does best. I wanted to see a slasher film, get to slashing, and that's not necessarily what I saw. So it didn't add anything to him as a character, but it didn't take anything away from him as a character. I would say the one thing that was surprising was the doctor who killed the cop. That was they seized an opportunity in a moment with that. That was good because I didn't see that coming, but that was the only true shocker in the film. So, I mean, the other thing is that I found that stood out for me is if you're going to have people of color in your film, have them have a purpose there. Don't have them just be window dressing. Because they had the sheriff who was this black guy, but he served no purpose. Mm-hmm. He came in as like, oh, well, it's Halloween. We can't tell folks that Michael Myers is loose. And then he disappeared.
Yeah. So
so basically, no purpose.
Well, basically, they pulled a scene from Jaws where it's like, okay, well, there's a shark and we should close the beaches. Well, we can't close the beaches because this is our, this is where you make the most money. And I'm like, that makes more sense than the plot of this movie. Like Michael Myers is potentially out and about, and you won't. It just doesn't make it. It
makes
stupid.
No sense because this is Halloween night, and you won't tell people to stay in because there's a serial killer out like that. That makes no sense to me. But just having the guy, he really didn't have a role. He came in, he said that. He had 2 scenes at different points, but there was really no purpose for him in the film. Just like there really wasn't a purpose for the couple, the African American couple who left their house. There really wasn't a purpose for them. So it's like you had minorities in the film, but they were just window dressing. So if you're going to put minorities and try to show diversity, put them in the film. Have them have, why wasn't one of her friends African American or Asian or Hispanic? Just because you have a African American person of color in there, which I love, but there's also Asian Americans and Hispanic Americans and other people who now make up a town like Haddonfield. So she certainly, I would have expected maybe a friend or two of hers to be of color if you were going to do that, so they could have had more of a role in it. So overall, I was a little harsh because we gave the film a grade. And your grade was much better than mine. Yeah, tell.
I would say that I would give this movie I would give it a B. I mean, the worst thing a movie could be is boring. And I don't think there's boredom in there, but I think this movie would definitely have a good Redbox night rental or a. When it comes on Netflix, this is a good Netflix movie. I just don't think that this deserves an IMAX or we should pay to see this mainstream. This is a matinee. This is not. I think we got maybe 2 more movies coming out this summer. We got that new Harry Potter. No. We got forgot about Suspiria, and I hear Suspiria is quite amazing because I think what I'm hearing about Suspiria is that they didn't go on a remake. They did something completely different.
Oh, cool.
Versus this one, they were just felt, I think, so pigeonholed to the first movie. It just I don't know. It just feels like studio interference. Mm-hmm. It just feels like a bunch of notes, and it just feels like there was a good movie that we could have had that got lost in the production, in the, I think in the pre-production and development. Well, I think in the development phase, I think we had a good movie, and then we just got lost in the sauce, and what we got is something that I think they typically have test audiences before they show a movie, and I think this movie is a result of that. I think there were test audiences, and based off of what they thought, this is what we got, and I just feel like there was something better there that we didn't get. So that's why I think the grade that I selected is fair, but it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I gave it a C minus.
Yeah,
I was really close to giving it a D, but I stepped back from giving it a D, but I gave it a C minus.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was boring to me. I was switching around, and my legs got tired of being this way. I got tired of sitting that way. I could think of what I was going to do. When I left, I was glad I didn't wait until the 10 o'clock showing, because I would have been probably snoring in a theater. There was never a moment where anybody, jumped in the theater visually that I could see, or you heard anybody gasp, or you heard, if you go in the theater in certain areas. Some of us like to talk to the theater and say, "Run, girl," and do this and do that. There was never that. Yeah. There was, honestly, there was more feedback when I saw Straight Outta Compton than when I saw this.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, this was a miss for me. The music was great.
Yeah, the music was great.
John Carpenter and his son brought it. With the music, I think the music is probably one of the most important components of it. I don't think they used as much as they should have in the actual film. But yeah, it definitely was a miss for me. But I say kudos to the marketing department, because they did an excellent job. They single-handedly are responsible for this movie making as much money as it did opening weekend. So that's my thoughts about it.
That's your thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, be sure to check us out. Like, subscribe, and share our podcast. And Deanna, you have a new podcast that you're going to be hosting. What's it called?
I do. I have a new podcast. It's going to be called The Man Whisperer.
Really, The Man Whisperer?
The Man Whisperer.
So what's that? What's that about?
The Man Whisperer is actually, it's been years in the making. It's actually me decoding the language of men for women and vice versa. So I'll be talking to some ladies and some gents, and we will have the discussion about love, relationships. Does he like me? When he says this, what does he mean? And when she says that or does that, what is she talking about? What is she doing? So yeah, I'll try to translate the language of love.
Okay, well, we can't wait to check it out. And thanks for listening to our podcast.
This is
LA Rob D the VIP. I think Suspiria is the next big thing. The last movie of the horror of Halloween of the horror season. And then we move off from doing. I think we move off into Aquaman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah. So.
Yes, I'm happy about that.
So we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. Peace. All
right. This is, what is it? He said, she said.
With Ellie Robin D the VIP.
Deuces.
Peace.
So look, to follow us, you can go to iTunes, tune in. You can like us on Facebook at He Said, She Said, LA Rob, and Be the VIP. There's a lot of He Said, She Said out there. So make sure it says LA Rob and Be the VIP. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at LA Rob and Be the VIP. And if you want to follow LA Rob's shit, his stuff, you can go to Mel Hondo, MALEHONDO at YouTube. Did I say everything?
You did?
See?
Well, no, wait, you missed one.
What?
Lord Tyree, LORDTYRE. That one is one of my older.
And I'm not calling him Lord anything. So that's probably why I messed up.
At least not on mic.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Or off mic either.